So first, I'd like to introduce Dr. Simon Rego, who is an expert in cognitive behavioral therapy, a licensed clinical psychologist, director of training in psychology at Montefiore Hospital as a part of the Albert Einstein Hospital system, and he holds various teaching and faculty roles there. In addition, he is the author of quite a few texts for clinicians and for the public related to cognitive behavioral therapy, and in particular depression, anxiety, and trauma-related disorders. So we're happy to have you, Dr. Simon Rego. The first question that we'd like to pose to our panelists is why did you choose to participate in this event?
It's a great question, and I first want to thank Dr. Niadi, because he's the main thrust behind why I'm here tonight, so thank you, Ni. It's a real honor to be here with everybody tonight. I'd like to give him a round of applause, too. And I'm so glad you said hope, because that was actually one of the three reasons that brought me out tonight. And the first I was going to say was stigma, and that was a word used earlier in the first panel, and we throw it around. And I'm really distressed that in 2019 we're still dealing with this stigma attached to mental health. And we're in New York City, which is a progressive and innovative city, and you still have people that can't come and get help. I work in the Bronx. I've been there more than 15 years. And it saddens me to see parents telling their kids, don't go down to that end of the hospital. That's where the crazy people are. And the messages we're sending, even with all the progressive moves we're making in society. So any chance you get to address stigma in a forum like this is really useful to me. And then hope for me is the idea that I come from a background of evidence-based medicine, and I'm understanding and helping with the progression of treatments that we have now, pharmacologically and psychologically, and we've come a long way. We really have very good, brief, effective treatments that can really be helpful, but we spend all our time as academics talking to one another, and we don't get forums like this to try to give you all hope that if you're suffering, there are great ways to get help, and it doesn't have to be years. We can do this in much briefer times now. And then lastly for me, it's empowerment, and I think Lecrae said this earlier when we talked about, well, what can you do to be an ambassador? I really think you can do it you can join major groups like NAMI, and I really think that would be a great thing to do after. And I really want to empower each of you to be ambassadors, and on an individual level, you can hear stigmas being perpetrated, and you can stop them by speaking out individually and start with this real one-on-one effort to take this down. So those are the three for me.
Can you briefly tell us what is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT? And as an expert, what brief strategies or tips do you recommend to your patients for maintaining a healthy mental state?
Certainly, yeah, that's a great question. And actually, I'll build off of what you just said, because in its essence, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, gives you tools. And it's based on a premise. It took us a half century to figure this out. It's going to seem simple, but how you think influences how you feel. And it seems so simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. So we try to help people understand that there's the life that we live, and then there's our reactions to that life. And it's those reactions or interpretations or appraisals that we make of the world around us that ultimately can impact the way we're feeling. And then that drives us to do things, even if we don't mean to try to cope. And those things can become problematic over time. And so we understand everyone has different backgrounds, everyone has different histories, and they can all influence how our problems get started. And we say, accepting that fact, let's then customize these principles of learning how to step back and look at what you're thinking and what you're doing, and take this individual with this history and this genetic background and these life circumstances, and now make a plan to disrupt these patterns of thinking and acting that have gotten in their way. And we give you the tools to kind of catch you up where it's not your fault. You might have just, like some people are good with languages and some people are good with math. You just, for your own circumstances, may not have had these tools, and we're going to teach them to you so that you become your own expert to deal with your problems, and then ultimately become your own CBT therapist down the road.
Many communities of color have a disbelief in mental illness and a mistrust for mental health services. What can be done within communities of color to help reduce the stigma around mental health issues and seeking counseling?
As providers, it's up to us to actually get out of our offices and get out of our textbooks and actually find a way to help you and help everyone in the battle against stigma, and then give you a reason to trust us, because we don't do a good job at that sometimes. We try to force you into our models or our cookie cutter stuff, and I loved your point, Dr. Lowe, about cultural adaptations, and we got to think about, for this person, how can we give them a reason to trust us with their most private stuff, the stuff you can't see, like a broken bone. We rely on your trust in us enough to tell us, verbally explain what's going on for you in order to be effective, and that's on us. That's even more so on us as providers.
As we have talked about starting a conversation with this town hall and this event, you've heard from this panel of experts that the conversation continues once you get in the room with your mental health care provider, your therapist, your psychiatrist, your psychologist. If there are concerns that you want to see addressed, it's about having that conversation. If there's someone across from you who doesn't look like you, it's about having that conversation. If there are other aspects that you would like to bring into the therapy, whether it's creative arts, whether it's your faith, it's about having that conversation. And as we continue this dialogue, we hope that you will find rich and engaging experiences as you continue on your journey with mental health and wellness. Let's say thank you again to our panelists.